We are in week 8 of the NBA season, and this is the week where the supposed to be really good teams that have been sucking for the longest time have started to return to that form that we thought they would be. To a lesser extent in the Brooklyn Nets, but most notably in the Los Angeles Lakers. Oh my gosh, Anthony Davis has been playing like the MVP that we've all wanted him to be for the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Holy crap. Is he playing out of his mind? He's playing better than Giannis. And for all those people saying, is Anthony Davis better than Giannis Antetokounmpo? Obviously, as a whole, no. Giannis has a finals MVP, multiple MVPs. I mean, he has been everything that the Milwaukee Bucks have wanted him to be. But Giannis can't shoot, although he has fixed his free throw motion. That's one thing that I noticed. I was going to make a video on it, but he's done away with the horrible mechanical 4-5 part motion that he has where he goes, breathe, 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 spin the ball, dribble, which he dropped from 6 or 7 dribbles because he was getting penalized, to 1 dribble. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Squat down, stand up, extend his elbows, then shoot. And he's gotten into more of a fluid, singular motion attempt from the free throw line that he's actually hitting at a little better percentage, at least of recent. No, of course, sample size. But I'm just proud that Giannis can kind of shoot free throws now. He still can't shoot, and it's a yikes every time he takes a 3-point shot, but that is a totally different story. But let's jump into these power rankings where we got the worst team probably in the league, although there's a lot of teams fighting right now in the San Antonio Spurs, and it's time for tanking for Victor Wembanyama at this point. Wembanyama, I don't even know anymore. The Spurs are in a really bad place ever since Josh Primo went out with Deshaun Watsoning. It's been really ugly to be a Spurs fan, and it is what it is. This is kind of what we expected. Thank God that they're not trying to fight and compete for the play-in tournament like they were at the beginning of the season. I think they were 5-5 at one point, and they're on a historically long losing streak, and that's what you got to do to be the worst team in the NBA, to improve your odds to get the best pick in the NBA. And even if they end up with a Scoot Henderson, that's a great consolation prize. But the Spurs right now are just what's the opposite of clicking on all cylinders? Struggling on all cylinders. None of their players are playing well. Trey Jones has reverted. They've just been getting blown out by every single team they play, and it's going to be a long season for San Antonio. Moving up one spot, though, is the Houston Rockets. They've shown some signs of growth and improvement. Kevin Porter Jr. has been playing a little bit less chaotic as the point guard, and I said this before, I know Dyson Nix is a trash point guard who belongs in the G League, but the offense does look a little bit better when he's there because he's not ball hogging and jacking up shots that Kevin Porter Jr. does, and it allows opportunities for Jalen Green to show his potential explosiveness. The dude can be a bucket if given the opportunities. Obviously, the plays aren't being run very well. I'm still calling for Coach Silas's job. Jabari Smith has been showing some flashes. Alperen Şengün has been getting benched a lot, as always. All in all, though, the Rockets are what the Rockets are. For the Thunder, they are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander away from being part of this tier. So I'm putting a tier up, but the Thunder have been really, really, really bad, and they're falling down a spot. If they didn't have Shai, they'd probably be a 2-3 win team at this point in the season. They got a lot of raw talent on this team that needs time to develop. Obviously missing Chet Holmgren. Josh Giddey, what is he? Because at this point, I haven't been convinced. Everybody saw it last year. Oh my God, Josh Giddey, he was such a great steal. And then this year you go, well, actually, when you look at it, Josh Giddey can't really shoot. We all knew that coming in when he was drafted. 27% from the three-point line this year. Holy crap, 67 from the free throw line. He's really good at these like weird kind of push shot floaters, which isn't ideal. He can't defend. He's not very athletic. He's tall, so you got to give him that, but he's a ball dominant point guard who can't shoot. He can't really play off of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander all that well. So they're kind of, they're staggering minutes where Shai plays some, then Josh plays some, and they can't really play off each other all that well. So they got a weird thing going on there, even though their two best players are point guards and Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They need to figure that out. Jalen Williams has been ridiculous. He's been way better than I expected. Dropped, I think, 27 in the last game, and he's been really good. But the rest of the team, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, Ousmane Dieng, he's just super raw of a prospect. Alexei Pokusevski shows signs that he might belong in the NBA, but then reverts to being a horrible basketball player. Darius Bazley is okay off the bench. They just got a really, I mean, it's the Thunder. They've got a raw, talented team that could theoretically win games. I thought they were going to be a little more competitive than they are. 10-13, not a horrible record. As you can see, a lot of teams are in this kind of 10-15 win tier, but it's just not a lot of good besides Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams. Timberwolves gonna fall down a spot here. It's just been a really tough week. Karl Anthony Towns obviously goes out with his injury. Rudy Gobert, I think he got ejected. I don't think he got hurt, but he's out for 1 or 2 games or something happened there. And D'Angelo Russell has been the worst basketball player in the history of life. Their depth is gone. They need Patrick Beverley. They're just a really struggling franchise right now. Don't play defense. Anthony Edwards has been okay at times, shown flashes, but He just hasn't seemed to be a #1 overall caliber pick type of player that you expect when you have that selection. And he's been pretty good, not great, if that makes sense. Chris Finch, I don't know what happened from last year to this year, but it seems like his message is just kind of not stuck around the way you'd like it to for a team that you thought was going to be much better than they were last year. And at this point, they were what, the 9 seed last year going into the play-in tournament. Now they're the 11 seed, so they haven't improved whatsoever. That said, they're still in this really middling tier of how good are they going to be in the Western Conference. Going to have the Lakers jump up 2 spots because holy crap, Anthony Davis. And there's nothing else to say other than Anthony Davis. He's just been playing unleashed. Russell Westbrook has been playing a little bit better. Still think they should try to trade him if he has any trade value at all. See what they can recoup in some assets. But Anthony Davis, just wow. I haven't seen this before since New Orleans days. It's good to see. He was the guy who was supposed to take over once LeBron started to regress and age out. And with that regression, Anthony Davis takes over with his progression, and they're still going to be able to match that level of intensity that they thought they would have when they were winning championships out there in Los Angeles. Russ aside, the roster is still a mess, so I'm not going to place them, in the 3-4 seed just because we're like, oh my God, confirmation bias, Lakers are finally good. Roster is an issue, still no shooting. Defense comes and goes. Most of the time it goes. And they got rid of their 3-point shooter in Matt Ryan, which makes a lot of sense because who needs shooting on the Los Angeles Lakers? But they did go 3-1 in the week. They're finally almost 500. Woo! Got the Warriors here at the 10 seed. I'm not going to move them at all. I know they're playing a little bit better. They're 2-1. There's just a lot of issues on the team. They lose to the Mavericks in kind of gross fashion. And just yet again, the offense is good. The system is good. Steve Kerr's a good coach. Steph Curry's an MVP caliber player. The rest of the players have their roles and they fill them out very well. They're struggling. Klay Thompson is hit and miss. Jordan Poole has been really bad this season. I know defenses has ramped up on him and he's kind of been the target of their eye, and they've been toning in on him and not letting him play the way that he wants to, especially with the double dribbling calls. But the Warriors are just, they're not great, but they are improving in the standings. So it is what it is. I'm going to put them at 10 right now. I just don't love what's going on there as far as team chemistry wise. Mavericks not going to move at all as well. 11-11, 2-1 on the week. And they did win 2 games, so good for you there. But man, that loss to the Pistons, bizarre. And it was the only game that was on that day on Thursday. So I wrote like 3 paragraphs on what was going on. And I was just kind of hoping that it would be a wake-up call for the Mavericks. I'm really unimpressed with the offensive system they have and Jason Kidd as a whole. I know. He got to the Western Conference Finals last year with Luka Doncic. But man, they just play on offense a modified version of street ball where Luka just does everything. He either drives, gets doubled, and then he kicks to the open man. And even when they run some motion, it's really just to get an ISO at the top of the 3 for Luka Doncic. And everybody goes, Luka needs help, Luka needs help, Luka needs help. Yeah, but Luka also needs to reduce his usage rate. It is just skyrocketing to like historic levels where he just never has anybody else touch the ball. And so these guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., who need a little bit of a dribble to get the ball going, Spencer Dinwiddie, not Reggie Bullock, they just need the ball in their hands. Basketball is a rhythm game. So if you only let players touch the ball to catch and shoot in 0.05 seconds, then they're not going to get a rhythm. They're just going to be playing defense. They're going to be running around. They're going to be missing a lot of shots. Basketball is a team game, and the Mavericks are struggling to figure that out. On top of that, their stars can't play defense, their defenders can't play offense, and their role players are one-dimensional, and their depth is horrible. The roster construction for whatever happened on this team is terrible. They have Frank Ntilikina, JaVale McGee, Theo Pinson, Davi Bertans, Jaden Hardy. Like, all these guys just don't belong on an NBA roster at this point in their careers, and they're the depth of this Mavericks squad. So, like, theoretically, they have the overall talent to win games. You see with last year's Western Conference Finals berth, Luka is good enough to carry a team at least to the second round of the finals, get a little help from Christian Wood and Spencer Dinwiddie, and you're set there. But I don't know what's going on with the minutes. It's either Jason Kidd, or it's Nico Harrison, or it's Mark Cuban, but they are just refusing to let Christian Wood cook. They're saying, you're going to be playing 20 minutes a night, coming off the bench, and you're not going to be playing in the clutch minutes. And you're just going, what are you doing? Why did they sign Goran Dragic, who clearly expressed that he wants to play alongside his Slovenian teammate in Luka? Instead, he goes to the Bulls and is playing really well there. Instead, they get Facundo Campazzo to try to replace Jalen Brunson, and now they're signing Kemba Walker like this is going to be the answer. This franchise is a joke, honestly, and if they didn't have Luka Doncic, they are in the bottom 2, bottom 3 in the Western Conference, and there's so many problems that I don't know if it starts with Mark Cuban, I don't know if it starts with Nico Harrison, I don't know where the issues start, but they got significant franchise problems that need to get fixed That said, Luka's going to be good enough, and they're going to put the ball in his hands long enough so that he gets a 90% usage rate, and he tweaks his ankle midway through the season, and you see how bad this Mavericks squad really is. Moving on from the Mavericks, I'm tired. The Clippers, just whatever. They're always not going to be playing Paul George or Kawhi Leonard or some combination of those two. 1-2 on the week, really tough, struggling at this point. Ty Lue's got them playing hard though. 13-11 on the season is going to put them at 8th in the power rankings. As y'all know, if Kawhi and PG play, they're one of the best teams in the Western Conference. If they don't play, they're one of the worst. I'm repeating myself every single time we talk about the Clippers. Jazz going to fall down a spot. They're still playing with that same effort and intensity that we loved at the beginning of the season. They're just not as magical as they were at this point. Just going to fall down here. 14-12. They played a lot of games compared to some of the other teams as well. Some like 4, maybe 5 more games than other teams. So I expect that they're going to have a break. They're going to recoup. And who knows? They really should be a 2-win team. But hey, here they are at 14-12. Blazers going to fall down a spot, even though they've been winning with Damian Lillard. It's because Damian Lillard has been in and out of the lineup. When Dame is in, they're a great team. When Dame is out, they're a bad team. Jeremy Grant has been really good for them, though. Kind of a revelation, if you will, that Christian Wood should have been for the Mavericks. They've kind of been hand in hand in that same skill level, same caliber of player, and they go to their respective franchises. Jeremy Grant has been unleashed on the NBA, while Christian Wood has been hidden on the bench. So take that with what you will with the head coaching of Jason Kidd versus Chauncey Billups. But the Blazers have been impressive in some points. I just need Dame to stay healthy for 20, 30 games in this season, and maybe they can really compete for that top, I don't know, maybe 3 seed in the Western Conference right now. Nuggets. I'm not sure if I'm on the fire Mike Malone bandwagon yet, but some of these rotations have just been abysmal. They're playing DeAndre Jordan significant minutes over Zeke Naji, and I don't know what Zeke Naji has done to Mike Malone, but he just refuses to get played. When he goes in, he looks really good. He makes mistakes. Yeah, that's expected to happen with a young guy, but he provides versatility that a lot of these other centers don't. He loves Jeff Green, even though Jeff Green at this point in his career is an He loves playing Jamal Murray, Ish Smith, Bones, Highland lineups, or like Jamal Murray, Ish Smith, Bruce Brown. He plays the 3 point guard lineups more than anybody else I've ever seen, and it's been horrible on your defense, which is already handicapped because Nikola Jokic can't play defense. Michael Porter Jr. has been out with injury forever, and God help me, I don't know what happened, but Christian Braun started the season hot, and then Mike Malone said, nah, get to the back of the roster. I don't want you on this team anymore. I don't know why, because he's one of the true 3-and-D wings on this team that they need. You look at the rest of the roster, the construction has been really bad. You got Jamal Murray. I mean, obviously Jamal Murray, he's fine. He's your starting point guard. And you got Ish Smith. I go, all right, great. You got a true facilitator that's good depth, but you already kind of have Bones Highland. I know Bones Highland has been a selfish prick this season, but he's the only guy who can score off your bench. You got Bruce Brown, who's like, oh, I want to be a guard. Well, you're not. Your skill set doesn't really set well there, but you're a good defender. You can stretch the floor to some extent. We like you on this team. Then you got KCP. Okay, 3-and-D. Behind him, you got Davon Reed, who's getting ridiculous minutes. I don't know why. And then you got Vlato Konkar, who, I mean, come on now. He's not going to be able to help someone Nikola Jokic's defensive tendencies. Then you got Jeff Green, who's a million years old. Zeke Naji doesn't play. And then DeAndre Jordan, who's like, doesn't belong in the NBA. Dwight Howard is out killing it in China right now. Why is DeAndre Jordan still in the NBA? The Nuggets need to go and steal like 3 of those 3-and-D wing players that they have on the Clippers that are just not getting enough minutes. Steal a Nicholas Batum from them. Steal a Robert Covington. You guys need some 3-and-D help on your team. These minutes and rotations that you're playing are so bizarre. Why is DeAndre Jordan on the team? The Nuggets are just in a really weird spot. And it's funny because their record is good. They're 14-9. They beat the teams that they're supposed to, but then they lose to teams unexpectedly. And you go, yeah, this team still is flawed. That's why record-wise, they probably should be top 3. But in reality, there's somewhere in this middling tier of, are they better than the Blazers right now? I don't know. Moving on to the 4 seed, and I got the Pelicans jumping up 3 spots after an impressive week. Of course, Jose Alvarado dropped, what was it, like 38 points this last game. They're starting to come together. Of course, Brandon Ingram's out with injury, so I'm just hesitant to put them up too high. Again, with this whole tiering in the Western Conference, you win a couple games, all of a sudden you're the best team in the West. So I'm not going to say that the Pelicans have figured out all their problems, solved everything. They're finally healthy and they're going to be a competitive team in the Western Conference. I'm just not there yet. I need to see a little bit more proof. They've been the underdogs, chip on their shoulder kind of mentality, guys. Now they're starting to get the, we're the favorites, we should be winning more games, and other teams are going to be putting a target on our back Zion Williamson finally healthy for at least a little while. He's been pretty monstrous. Brandon Ingram, I don't know what he's out with this time, but he's gone for a couple games. Should be coming back soon. They have so much talent on this team. I've loved what Trey Murphy has shown. He was one of my favorite prospects coming out of the draft, and then he just really struggled in his rookie year until the second half of the season, but he's been lights out this season. Dyson Daniels has been pretty good. The Pelicans are just a really, really talented roster. They have a whole lot of talented role players. Just need to figure it out and have both their superstars be healthy at the same time. But for now, 4-0 on the week, jumping up 3 spots, sitting here at the 4 seed. 3 seed, there's going to be no movement here for the Memphis Grizzlies. They're starting to get healthy. Finally, Dillon Brooks, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant, Steven Adams. I mean, that is a lethal starting 5 once they're all on the court at the same time. Good to see. I still don't love the team. I feel like they're one elite wing player away. I love Dillon Brooks and what he brings to the team, and he's the heart and soul of their defense. But at the end of games, I'm just seeing a little too much of John Morant trying to be Superman, and while it looks great in the highlights and it looks great on paper, it doesn't actually work all the time when Desmond Bane isn't there. It is what it is. Zion Williams still has yet to be seen on the court, but 2-1 on the week. 3-seeded Memphis Grizzlies. I don't think there's going to be a lot of argument there, and I still have the Kings here at the 2 seed just because of the cohesiveness of the roster. They've played like 5 less games than most other teams at 13-9. Went 3-1 on the week after finally losing their 7-0 win streak. I don't know how to explain it. I like this team. I don't love this team. I like De'Aaron Fox. I don't love his game. Domantas Sabonis has been a horrible shooter, but in the fourth quarter, when you need him to make a bucket, he's been clutch. Kevin Huerter has been streaky. Malik Monk is streaky. Keaton Murray's been pretty good, not great. Then the whole roster plays tough. They either play defense or they shoot well. We talked about it in the Kings Deep Dive series where they have exactly what they want in their role players. You either shoot the 3 or you play tough, gritty defense, and they've just filled out the roster beautifully. Something that the Los Angeles Lakers could learn from. But when everybody is playing at 100%, let's say the Nuggets were right. Let's say the Pelicans were healthy. Let's say everybody in this conference was playing at the levels that they should. I don't have the Kings at the 2 seed. I got them somewhere in this middling, maybe 8 seed, because they're not going to be better than a healthy Sun squad. They're not going to be better than a healthy, cohesive Grizzlies squad. Pelicans, no. Nuggets, no. Blazers with Damian Lillard, no. Are they better than the Jazz? Yeah. Are they better than the healthy Clippers? No. Are they better than the Mavericks if everything was right there? No. Better than the Warriors? No. Better than the Lakers? I mean, not really. So if every single NBA team was playing up to their fullest potential, I just don't really think the Kings are that talented of a roster. I don't think De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis are going to be the guys that put you over the top. That said, the rest of the Western Conference is just a freaking mess right now. So the Kings going to hold here at the 2 seed. I believe in them, their roster, and their cohesiveness, which is a weird thing coming out of my mouth. The Sacramento Kings are the most cohesive team in the Western Conference, behind the next tier above, Phoenix Suns. They've been playing without Cliff Paul, and they've just been rolling in spite of him. That's why there's this tier gap. That's why the Suns are just on another level from the Western Conference. Moving on to the East, and we got at the bottom of the barrel, the Pistons. They've been playing without Cade, and it's been showing because the rest of the team has been really, really bad. Bojan Bogdanovic, he's been playing okay, not as hot as he was at the start of the season, and he's stolen all of Sadiq Bey's minutes, so that sucks. Jaden Ivey, I mean, he's a rookie. He's a really, really raw prospect. Great athlete, can shoot to some extent, but he just needs time to develop. Killian Hayes has been unreal, unleashed, and they still are just not a very good team without Cade Cunningham. Is what it is. They're the worst team in the Eastern Conference. Hornets, I got them jumping up a spot because although they are, we'll say roster talent-wise the worst, with no future and no hopes and a lot of issues coming out with Gordon Hayward's injury and LaMelo Ball's been out, and I mean, who's their best player? Is it really Terry Rozier? They still fight and compete to some extent, so 1-3 on the week, 7-16 record. They're, I don't know, they're the Hornets. Magic, I'm going to hold them steady here at the 13 seed because although they continue to lose, they're on like a 7-game win streak right now. You look at some of the games that they played versus the Hornets or the Pistons, the Magic are playing really, really tough teams, and they're still moderately competitive. They'll lose by like 10 or 8 points in games that they really have no business being a part of. I mean, you look at these losses, you lose to the Raptors by 13, that's a good team. Cavaliers, that's a really good team, only by 11. Lose to the Hawks, you did get blown out here, but the Hawks are good with DeJounte Murray right now. Lose to the Nets by 7. You lose to the 76ers, you get blown out. 76ers were rolling at this point. Lose by 8 to the Sixers. Lose to the Pacers twice. I mean, these are all good playoff top 5 kind of seeded teams. And then the Nets, after they fired Jacques Vaughn, have been playing so much better. Then they beat the Bulls, lose to the Timberwolves, they get blown out there. You lose to the Hornets, and then you beat the Suns, you beat the Mavericks. The roster and the schedule has been really weird. They finally got Markelle Fultz back. They finally have a point guard on the roster that's healthy for at least right now. It's kind of tough to rank the Magic because you know that they have 2 NBA caliber players in Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner, And honestly, the rest of the roster I'd sell. But those two guys are good enough to win you a couple games. I just don't know if Jamal Mosley is the right coach. I don't know if any of the other guys want to come along. Jalen Suggs, Orlando has this horrible tradition with injuries, either because they have a problem with their health squad or because they like sitting guys, even though they have like a broken toenail or something. I don't know what it is about the Magic injury staff, but they're just so battered and bruised every single season, and they sit out a lot of guys. And the Magic are in a weird spot, but the talent-wise is there, which is why I still got them at 13th, the top of this bottom of the barrel tier in the Western Conference. Moving up, no surprises here. Those Chicago Bulls at 9-14 went 1-3 in the week, and they're just in a bad place. Zach LaVine has been really, really bad. But I'm watching Bulls games. I don't know if he's ever driven this season. Has he driven once hard to the paint and done a high-flying dunk? This dude is just trying to become Steph Curry 2.0. All he loves to do is take fading, falling to the side, three-point shots that routinely don't go in. And the only way he scores is if he gets hot and makes like 3 threes in a row. The rest of the game, he's nothing. DeMar DeRozan, I mean, he takes every shot from the mid-range. He's good. I get it. He's just not, one of the best players in the NBA. He's in that couple of tiers down. The roster is struggling. Nikola Vucevic in his contract year has just been really, really bad for the Bulls ever since he came over. Patrick Williams shows signs here and there. Alex Caruso should not be your starting point guard. Lonzo Ball's still out with injury. And the only player that you can really say is impressive on this roster is Javonte freaking Green. So the Bulls are in a bad place right now, and I don't think they have their first round pick this year either. Just a tough time to be a Bulls fan right now. Speaking of tough time to be a fan, the Knicks are sitting here at 11, and they're just continuing to struggle. They went 2-2. They did beat, who was it, like the Nets or something? They beat the Cavaliers 92-81 in one of the ugliest games I've ever seen in my life. I think they had like 15 turnover calls, and every single time either team was bringing the ball up the court, they either miss horribly. You look at these 3-point percentages, 8-35 for the Cavs, 5-29 for the Knicks, or they double dribble or they turn the ball over. It was just a really, really freaking horrible game of basketball to watch. But the Knicks are just in such a weird spot. Jalen Brunson has been good for them, but he's obviously not, a Ja Morant, Steph Curry. So how much can he really help the team? Julius Randle has been regressing into the dirt. Obi Toppin seems to not get minutes, even though he's one of the guys that flash. What else is on this roster? RJ Barrett's been a disappointment. Evan Fournier sucks. Quentin Grimes, I mean, he is what he is. Tom Thibodeau is just, he needs to go, man. This Knicks team needs a makeover. Does it need to blow up? I don't know yet, but they're at that point where they need to look themselves in the mirror and figure out what they want to be, because the team is at age-wise ready to win now with RJ Barrett taking them over the top. But obviously that hasn't happened. RJ Barrett's development has been the slowest development ever, if at all. Do they want to make the play-in tournament, or do they want to start tanking and getting better draft picks? Wizards, they're the Wizards, 10 seed, 1-3 in the week. I can't talk about the Wizards any more than I already have. The Heat are going to fall down 2 spots, and I've just been really unimpressed with how they've been playing this season. Their offense has been horrible. They still have the same great defense, and they play together as a team, and they have that culture, blah, blah, blah. Jimmy Butler is one of the most clutch players I've ever witnessed in the history of the NBA. This dude just, when you need a bucket, he's going to go into the mid-range, he's going to go into the post, he's going to drive to the paint, and he's either going to make his damn free throws, or he's going to give you a crazy clutch shot. Jimmy is legit. The rest of the roster, I don't trust. Bam Adebayo has been starting to play a little bit better. Almost became an all-star at stretches in this season, which is a surprise because Bam has been hugely disappointing. Tyler Hero has just been a mess at this point. They've really been regretting signing Duncan Robinson to that super contract, and the Heat are just, they're struggling, man. So I'm going to say I'm starting to hop off the Heat bandwagon. I've been a big believer, been holding them steady at like the 7-6 seed in the Eastern Conference, and at this point, they just continue to lose games, man. Pacers, I'm not going to move at all. They had a really ugly week, 1-3, and that's what's going to happen with this team. I think they're 1 year away from actually competing. I think they should have continued to tank and try to get a high draft pick at least one more year, because I know I love Tyrese Halliburton. Andrew Nembhard's a great backup point guard, as you saw with that game-winning shot against the Lakers as they completely blew that lead. Ben Mathurin has been the answer, but I think there just isn't enough talent to be a truly competitive team on this Indiana Pacers squad, and I'm a little bit worried that they might default back into this we're not good enough to win a championship, not bad enough to tank for really high draft picks kind of motif that they've been in for the last 15 years. And this time it's because they're too competitive, which is a little funny. So theoretically, do you want to watch this team compete for a playoff spot? Yeah, I guess that could be fun. Do you want to sit everybody and tank for another season? Yeah, that wouldn't be fun, but I think that's the right thing to do for the roster. That said, 12-11, they're going to sit here at the 8 seed, which is pretty good, not great. Raptors going to fall down a spot here. They went 2-2 on the week. They're an okay team at this point. They're kind of a barometer for a 500 team. If you beat them, you're better than a 500 team. If you lose to them, you're worse than a 500 team. They have the capacity to go out and win any game on any given Sunday, but for the most part, they're going to win half their games and lose half their games. They don't have any superstar Kevin Durant's on their team, and it shows. Speaking of superstars and Kevin Durant's, the Nets went 3-1 on the week. They jump up 3 spots, only loss coming to the best team in the NBA, Boston Celtics, and you got to respect that. If Kevin Durant didn't forget how to use his hands at the end of that game, they have a good chance of winning. They played without Yuta Watanabe. They played without Ben Simmons. Oh my God, Ben Simmons is on the bench again. Oh, Nets have been pretty good. Jacque Vaughn has been the answer that they've been looking for, and I really like what's going on out there in Brooklyn. I'm going to have no movement on the rest of these rosters. 76ers going to hold steady at the 5 seed. James Harden should be coming back soon. They've been holding the boat, holding down the fort, even though they started off the season really rough. Joel Embiid has been okay at times, still missing Tyrese Maxey, of course, too, but the 76ers are okay. Obviously, you like to see them be a little bit better than they are. Hawks are in a weird spot. They went 2-1 on the week. Trae Young was out. DeJounte Murray, I've talked about before, but it seems like the offense runs a little bit more smoothly, a little bit more like an NBA offense when DeJounte Murray's at the controls other than Trae Young. They got a good team. Everybody wants to fire Nate McMillan, and I get it. John Collins is out with injury. The Hawks are in a good, not great tier right now. And really, this season could go either way for them. They could start to pick up some losses and just really struggle, make probably the play-in tournament. They could go on a hot streak and start making their shots. And then all of a sudden, you see them there at the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. So the Hawks are in a weird spot. Not truly sure what to say about them at this point. There's just not enough footage. There's not enough tape of the whole team playing together. That said, AJ Griffin has been pretty good. Jalen Johnson has been finally getting minutes. And some of the younger guys out there in Atlanta are starting to produce for this team. Cavaliers, they're just a tick below the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and it shows with their record, 15-9. They win some games, they lose some games they should win. And Jared Allen being out with injury has been bigger than I expected because he is the answer. He is the revelation. He's their defensive stopper. He grabs rebounds on both sides of the court. He makes this lineup unstoppable with that twin tower chemistry that the NBA just cannot match because Evan Mobley is such a unique player that he's playing the power forward position. He can play the power forward position even though he is truly a center. And yeah, the Cavs with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are good. They're just not great, at least not yet. Hopefully Jared Allen comes back from injury soon. Bucks, they've been okay, 2-1 on the week. Chris Middleton comes back and then they lose to the MVP Anthony Davis Lakers, and that's a game you should win, but when Anthony Davis goes off, LeBron James is LeBron. You're going to lose a couple games like that throughout the season. It is what it is. 16-6 is nothing to cry about for a record at this point in the season. Hopefully they get Chris Middleton integrated into the lineup again. Giannis can shoot at some point. But for the Bucks, it's always been about the long haul. It's always been about the marathon. They're going to try, make sure that their players are healthy when they go into the playoffs and then go on a little bit of a run. And then I'm finally doing it. I've been mentioning, I've been hinting about it before, but we got a tier gap between the middling teams in the Eastern Conference and the Celtics. They've just been far and away the best team in the Eastern Conference. They've been far and away the best team in the NBA. Jason Tatum is playing at an NBA caliber level. Marcus Smart has finally learned how to play point guard after so many years of him just struggling, either taking ridiculous shots, taking ridiculous passes, making mistakes. It's been an ugly, slow development process for Marcus Smart, but it seems like with the addition of Malcolm Brogdon, he's finally figured it all out, put all the pieces together. Go watch B-Ball Breakdown's video. Marcus Smart has been great. Jaylen Brown has been a stud. They haven't had any, oh, I forgot to dribble problems like they had in the finals. Al Horford re-signs with that 2-year deal, trying to right the wrongs of trading him away to Philadelphia, did he go? And then Oklahoma City Thunder, where he just sat for a year. Robert Williams still hasn't even come back yet, and he's their defensive anchor, and yet they are 19-5 on the season. Celtics have just been the best team in the NBA, period. And that is going to do it for this week's Power Rankings. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and I'll catch you in the next one.